What? Are you telling me that the international media is biased against India? I'm shocked. It's not like it's ever happened before. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Sharma Show. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. So we know the international media and all the big international media organizations, they are fighting the good fight. We always see ads from all of these media organizations about how in this post-truth world, they are fighting for the truth. The truth is more important than ever. And so supporting these media organizations is now more important than ever. And we've already seen how big media organizations like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the BBC, Bloomberg, they have reported on India, whether it comes to India's decision on Kashmir, which according to Washington Post is basically a Hindu war on Islam, whether it comes to the CAA, which is basically Hindu oppression of Muslims, whether it comes to Modi, who is basically obviously a Hindu version of Hitler, and when it comes to Delhi, which was quite obviously a pogrom. Now, look, I know that Hindus died in the Delhi riots as well. But Hindus are not people. We're talking people here. So judging by how honest international media organizations have been when it comes to covering Indian news, it should really come as no surprise about their coverage of the sexual assault incidents in Hathras and in Balrampur in India. So just to recap, in Hathras in India, a scheduled caste woman was murdered by a group of upper caste men belonging to a Thakra community. And in Balrampur, also a scheduled caste woman was sexually assaulted and murdered, but this was done at the hands of a group of Muslim men. So I think by this point, if you know the international media, you know how the international media is going to cover both of these incidents. So let's take a look at CNN first. CNN's headline covering the Balrampur case says a second Dalit woman has died after alleged gang rapes, sparking outrage and protests across India. So in the report, it mentions that the four accused in the Hathras case were from an upper caste community. However, in the Balrampur case, the report identifies the accused simply as two men. From the makers of 2.5 Men comes another hit show, Two Men. These are just two ordinary men with an amazing superpower. Their superpower is completely losing their identity. When it comes to decisions of the Modi government, they become Muslims. When it comes to riots, they become Muslims. But they have the amazing power of completely losing their Muslim identity every time they commit a crime. After committing a crime, they simply become two men. New hit show coming this November. Let's look at the coverage of the New York Times as well. The New York Times titled a report, Woman Dies in Delhi After Gang Rape, Fueling Outrage Again in India. Again, the accused in the Hathras case are identified as higher caste men, while those in the Balrampur case are just identified as two men. Let's take a look at the BBC. BBC, we see the same pattern. The report says Balrampur anger grows after new India gang rape death. While the accused in the Hathras case are again mentioned as upper caste men, the accused in Balrampur once again are mentioned just as two men. Another big global publication, Bloomberg, who operates in India in partnership with The Quint, they titled a report, Protests Erupt in India Following Woman's Death in Rape Case. The accused here again are mentioned as upper caste in the Hathras case, but in the Balrampur case, they have not even been identified. Now look, you might be thinking that this is bias, this is media bias, but have you ever taken a second to stop and think that maybe the men in the Balrampur case were atheists? Maybe they had no religion. Maybe they did not want to be defined by their religion. Maybe they want the people to see them as human beings, not as Muslims. Seriously guys, start looking at people as human beings. This is 2020. Get woke. What about what? Oh, upper caste Hindus. Well, look guys, like I said before, we're only talking about people here. So on top of mentioning the caste of the perpetrators in Hathras and not even mentioning the religion of the perpetrators in Balrampur, they also made it a point that when they were talking about the Hathras case and when they were talking about both of these cases, that they made a point to talk in detail about the caste system in India and how terrible the caste system is and how terrible caste-based discrimination is. And look, caste-based discrimination is a bane on Indian society without a shadow of a doubt, and it needs to be eliminated. But at the same time, I think it would have been useful that if you're going to mention the caste system when talking about the Hathras case, that you mention Muslim systems of discrimination when you're talking about the Balrampur case. How the Muslim society in South Asia has its own caste system where the Ashraf caste sit at the very top, and then the Ajlaf and then the Azral caste, also known as the Pasmanda caste, sit at the bottom. How there are systems of discrimination within these castes that the Ashraf caste who sit at the tippy top, they practice caste endogamy, whereas the Ashraf caste very rarely marry outside of their caste into Ajlaf and Azral families. How in many places in India there are separate graveyards for Ashraf castes and for Azral and Ajlaf castes. How in some places in India there is even segregation during prayers in mosque between the Ashraf and the Ajlaf and the Azral castes. How despite being only 15% of the Indian Muslim population, the Ashraf Muslims had hegemonized and were overrepresented in Islamic organizations and institutions like Jamaat-e-Ulema-e-Hind, Jamaat-e-Islami, All India Muslim Personal Law Board, and government-run institutions for minorities like the Aligarh Muslim University, Jamia Millia Islamia, Maulana Azad Educational Foundation, and others. According to one analysis, there have been 7,500 elected representatives from the 1st Lok Sabha all the way to the 14th Lok Sabha. Out of these representatives, around 400 have been Muslims, and out of these Muslim representatives, 340 have been from the Ashraf caste, which again accounts for only 15% of the Indian Muslim population. So, from 85% of the Indian Muslim population, there has only been 60 representatives from the 1st to the 14th Lok Sabha. It would have probably been nice to mention that. At the same time, it would have been nice to mention how among certain Muslim communities there's a tendency to look down upon non-Muslim communities, and there's also a tendency that when the Muslim population in any part of India becomes a majority, they slowly start squeezing the non-Muslim populations out of those areas. A prime example of this obviously being Kashmir, and this has happened in other states as well. It would have probably been nice to mention in the Balrampur case that there is an attitude among Muslim culture of looking towards non-Muslims and particularly non-Muslim women, especially in a land like India, which is the land of Kafirs, or Darul Harb, which is known as the land of war. Non-Muslim women under certain interpretations of Sharia law can be seen as spoils of war or ghanima, and that attitude, that philosophy can sometimes lead to certain Muslim communities targeting non-Muslim women. In fact, in Mewat in India, which is a Muslim majority region, a retired judge recently spoke about how Muslim communities are committing atrocities against non-Muslim Dalit communities that are reminiscent of the atrocities committed against Hindus during the time of Aurangzeb. So while you mention Hindu caste discrimination in the Hathras case, it would have probably been nice to mention all of these issues that Muslim societies are facing right now in the Balrampur case as well. But it's almost like they don't want to touch Islamic systems of discrimination like it's the Ark of the Covenant, that looking at it will somehow melt their faces off. And look, judging by what happened to Charlie Hebdo, they're probably not entirely wrong. But again, for organizations that act like they're the beacons of truth, how they're the beacons of impartiality, and how they're fighting tyrants like Donald Trump and Modi, but then this is how they report the news, and then they wonder why the trust in media is at an all-time low in 2020. So they can go ahead and complain about how Modi does not respect CNN, BBC, New York Times, how Indian politicians do not want to engage with these foreign publications, how Indian people look down upon many of these foreign publications. But I want to ask you, judging by their track record, judging by this particular example of how they've covered the Hathras case and the Balrampur case, can you really blame the Indian people, and can you really blame Indian politicians for not trusting these news organizations, looking down upon these news organizations, and not engaging with these news organizations? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Once again, guys, if you liked today's episode, make sure to leave a like, leave a thumbs up. It helps me out. It helps this new channel out as well. If you like the Sham Sharma Show Global, and if you'd like to support the Sham Sharma Show as well, make sure to become a patron of the show. By becoming a patron of the show, you get access to the Discord server of the Sham Sharma Show as well, by which you can talk directly with me, and you can submit your memes and your WTF moments and your news to be featured on the weekly meme reviews as well. You can also join the Sham Sharma Show subreddit to also submit your memes that will be used in the Sham Sharma Show meme review as well. Also, if you liked today's episode, if you like the English Sham Sharma Show channel, and if you still haven't subscribed to this channel, well, what are you waiting for? Just click on the button, make sure to subscribe, make sure to press the bell icon as well, and check out our episodes here and our episodes here. I'm sure you like them as well. I will see you for the next episode. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys soon.